Hey guys, what it do? It's your boy Supreme the God, and today we're talking about Yuji Itadori and his domain expansion. I think it is the most pivotal and the most meaningful domain expansion that we'll get in the whole series. I think it's may even be the last domain expansion that we get in the series. And I think it deserves all the accolades in the world, even though we do not yet know what we will do. I will get on to discussing what I think potentially might do. But first, I wanted to kind of talk about why it's the most meaningful, right? Now, some people are gonna say that's an ass pull, yada yada yada, but then why did nobody call it an ass pull when Megumi created a makeshift barrier domain using the environment, right? He figured it out and did it. Gojo figured out RCT while near death. Yuji has been seeing Sukuna do several domain expansions, right? He saw the Gojo versus Sukuna fight. He saw Yuta doing it. He also switched body with Yuta, right? And we know that Yuta's domain expansion abilities are insane, that even Sukuna himself complemented it because he can choose who to target, right? He could choose to not target his friends or his allies and only target Sukuna or whoever the enemy is, which is a high level barrier skill, right? Gojo and Sukuna are the type of people to just throw everything away. They just out shit attacks everybody. Gojo's one is if I touch you, you're not a target, right? Sukuna's one is like only I'm not the target, right? And that is why both of them needed to switch parameters for those domain expansions in order to counteract each other because both the domains are just insanely powerful. Now, like I said, Yuji switched with Yuta, right? And Yuta had switched with Gojo, right? Which means he also got an extra boost. Now we don't know which order it necessarily came, but just the fact that they switch like that probably means that whatever knowledge he got there, Yuji also somewhat got some of it, right? And as the fights goes on, and you know yourself, like these characters get stronger during fights. We've seen it happen. Like Yuta literally unlocked that love beam against what's his name, Ghetto, right? So like these things happen. It's how the whole manga has been written from the start. Maki got stronger. I mean, her one was kind of BS doing that whole sumo thing, but she got stronger quite exponentially throughout chapters, right? So I don't really see the problem with it. I don't think it's an ass pull. I think it completely makes sense. I think the timing there is desperation. And it's not that he could, I think if he could have pulled it off at any point, he would have been able to. But I think it clicked at that moment. I think everything clicked at that moment. And sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes a mental shift, right? The same way that Gojo understanding reverse curse technique took a mental shift. And I think that's what occurred here. Now, what will his domain expansion be? I think it, now, so Gojo's is the exception here with his domain expansion. His domain expansion doesn't really have anything to do with his actual curse technique, but it has everything to do with his six eyes. It seems, at least, right? Because it dumps information and you die from that. It's nothing to do with limitless, right? Even though you can argue it is. It's unlimited information versus actual mass and stuff like that, right? So then people are arguing, okay, will Yuji's one be unique like Gojo's, or will it be like everybody else's where it has something to do with his technique, right? We know that Sukuna's is about cooking, and that's why there was furnace in it, there was cleave and dismantle. In order to unlock furnace, cleave and dismantle has to do his job, right? He has to follow the process of the chefing, otherwise it doesn't work. Why it didn't work against Gojo is because he couldn't follow it thoroughly because he had to change parameters of his domain expansion to counteract Gojo's. So this is key stuff here. And I think no, I think it's going to be the easy one where it's going to target the soul because he changed his dismantle or cleave to target the soul. So I think his domain expansion, and I think him changing it is also what allowed him to do his domain expansion. And also beforehand, Sukuna had his domain expansion, so he's not like he could just pop out his domain expansion. And Yuta has the better or is better at domain expansions. Yuji didn't even know he can cut the soul until later in the fight, and he probably did a binding vow to do it. And thus, it only made sense that he'd only open his domain now because there was people that would just have better domain expansions, more useful ones for the fight than he did. But since he changed his curse technique, basically altered it. Sukuna did it to turn it to a world cut and cleave. Yuji turned it into a soul cutting cleave or dismantle, right? And I think as a result, that's why I think he's now able to do his domain expansion, because it suits what he wanted. And I think that's where his brain clicked and he was like, wow, I can, it's a sure hit. I'm cutting his soul already, but this is a guaranteed sure hit if I do my domain expansion. And thus he does his domain expansion. So I think that's what it will be. I think, you know, the fact that he talked about it being certain, and what Gojo said against what's the goat's name? Goddamn, Volcano Man, Volcano Head, way back. The fact that he brought that conversation up, and the fact that it's a guaranteed hit and a booster, I think it will definitely be something that will be dealing with splitting the soul. And I think the instant that it hit, I think it split Sukuna's soul with Megumi. And I think the fight that him and Yuji are going to have here will determine whether or not he keeps the soul or not. Something like that. But we will see. I'm very excited to see what happens. I definitely think there'll be some left-right jabs. It could also be like train journey. You know, the way Gojo just woke up in the airport, it could be the exact same thing. But then why is Yuji here? It could be a sacrificial move where it's a suicide attack where he dies and we both die. You know what I'm saying? He splits the soul of everybody caught in the domain. And because Yuji doesn't really know how to separate, like, okay, it doesn't affect me or have those type of parameters, perhaps that is the reason why then he himself, also his soul gets split, right? But we will find out what will happen next week. This week. There's no break, thank God. But I'm super excited to see. I'm so happy to see Yuji win and shine. And it was so worth it. It's so meaningful because he lost everything, right? He lost his best friend. He lost his grandfather. He lost his sensei. You know what I'm saying? He potentially might have lost Yuta, who is his younger, like older brother mentor type person. He lost his older brother Choso. Like, he's really lost everything. So this is the, you know, he's like, okay, if I'm going to lose everything, I might as well lose myself. So I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm so happy. It's such a meaningful moment. And the build up was sensational. And finally, Yuji shines. It's been your boy Supreme J the God. Make sure you live a shine for yourself by smacking the like and subscribing. I'm out.